seem to take issue with what you called contradictory statements between the Secretary's confirmation hearing and where things stand now.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're getting the answers you want?
Well, I want to go back to the record and just simply state why it's not a contradiction. I mean, on its face, it appears. I didn't get into other matters that we will have in the for the record, but we have 24% fewer people in the CDC since the end of last year. Was that a part of a deliberative staff reduction program that I can have information because to perform my oversight role? That's a good example. But I think there were several instances where Secretary Kennedy said people lied, and that should be founded in scientific data. I just simply want to know. I like to be a boring person. I like to focus on facts, and I heard a lot of back and forth that's not the least bit productive. And let me tell you what I'm really worried about. I really worry about how this is going to have a dramatic impact on people who, I saw a press conference this morning about Florida, my home state, by the way, that's where I was born, planning to ramp down the mandatory vaccines in Florida. That will send a shockwave through communities that simply don't have the resources to do anything more than to act on what they believe are trusted advisors in health, right? Trailer park I just drove through about 2 months ago in Nashville, Tennessee, that I grew up in. Those folks are going to see this thing and say, vaccines are bad. I'm not going to vaccinate my kids. They're not going to go to their doctor because many of them don't have access to it. They may not even go on the web. I don't even know if they have access. They're not going to do the research. So these kids get harmed by this. And what I'm trying to do is cut through the politics. I see it on both sides. And just say, answer the questions so that we can act like adults in the room and give parents a reason, in my opinion, to continue to vaccinate their kids, whether the state asks them to or not.
Do you think the Secretary's right to give
Do you still have confidence in his ability to lead the nation on public health?
Well, I think a lot of that. I'm concerned with some of the actions over the last 4 weeks. You know, I'm a management consultant. I've never would occur to me that an executive who would put so much time into sending somebody forth for a Senate confirmation would not have done the basics beforehand. I don't know how you turn around in 4 weeks on any one issue. That's a concern to me. So I want to know if it's being managed properly. Are we really relying on science? You know, Secretary Kennedy was largely a trial lawyer. He did other things, but he was a trial lawyer. When you're in and he actually sued some agriculture interests down in North Carolina who didn't make their credit card list, or I'm sorry, their Christmas card list. But a trial lawyer doesn't have an obligation to present a counter view. It's on the other attorney to prevent a counter view. So I'm wondering whether or not Secretary Kennedy is just so focused on a view that I believe he strongly believes in, that maybe he's dismissive of other science that should come in with a well-balanced decision, which is probably going to be instructed by the positions at either end of the spectrum. So I'm concerned that balance is that we're diminishing the credibility of the CDC. We could be diminishing the credibility of the U.S. government in terms of keeping kids safe. And I'm trying to lower the temperature and get to specific things, not clickbait, but real work to reestablish credibility. These institutions are hurting, and people that grew up like me will get hurt the most if we don't get it right.
Senator, given your concerns that you've laid out in Florida and elsewhere, vaccine, what agency do you have as a Republican senator when it comes to the vaccine board, the advisory board?
Look, I haven't lost all confidence in the CDC. The CDC has 9,000 people. They had 12,000 in the end of the year. They have about 9,000 now with some of the changes that occurred with DOGE and everything else. I have a lot of confidence in those people. Does anybody really believe that you studied to be a PhD in epidemiology and they came to go to the CDC so they could lie about science? I mean, it's just illogical to me. That's why I want to go back and say, okay, the secretary said people lied. I'm going to go back to the specific science that he suggested was a lie and get to the facts. That's what we need here. I am so tired of sound bites and everybody drawing a conclusion on paper-thin information. America's health is at risk here.
Don't you think
we got to do the homework and stop the political bullshit on either end of the spectrum.
But don't you think the Secretary's contributing?
Given your concerns about his laser focus, as you say, on certain issues, his background as a trial lawyer, Are you saying that you don't believe he might have the capability to run HHS?
Well, I'm suggesting that as someone who has advised executives on management policy, it wasn't good form to take one of your signature executives, put them before a Senate panel, have them confirm, and then fire them within 20 business days. I'm just saying objectively, if I were advising a client who was a CEO of a major organization, let's say the size of 9,000 employees, I'd say that's bad form.
But don't you think what you said about this skepticism about vaccines, how the move that Florida has made,
Yeah.
hasn't Secretary Kennedy contributed to that?
Oh, I think we have a big risk, and I would tell my colleagues down in North Carolina, don't take the bait and remove the vaccine requirements for public schools in North Carolina. Number one, I think it could have a devastating impact on concerned parents moving their kids out of public schools. And in my home state of Florida, North Carolina is my home, but I was born in Florida. Top 5 countries that travel to Florida every year have vaccine mandates for their children. It'll be interesting to see if the data suggests whether or not they want their kids to come to a state full of kids that may not have vaccines on board.
Do you worry that he's moving towards saying that vaccines cause autism? And if he does that, what do you do in that moment?
Deliver the science. Look, I don't take talking heads advice. I take scientific advice. I'm not a scientist, but I've got some really great people who understand the science. Give me the science. Cut all this crap of responding to whatever talking head you think you need to please because you want to score points on the internet. Get the science done.
Yeah, but you don't believe that vaccines cause that?
I'm not a scientist. I don't see. You know, my staff, and they know. They never answer. They never answer my question by saying "I think," and you know why? Because that, by definition, means they don't know. I just want people to know when they assert something, and it's got to be based in science, not ideology.
Given how political everything is at this point, do you think there's room for Democrats and Republicans to work with RFK Jr. and HHS and the CDC on health policy under this administration?
I hope so, but I also think that there are some foundational questions that we'll be looking for the answers to in our QFers, and that'll let me decide whether or not this is just going to be another political charade for my remaining tenure in the U.S. Senate. I hope not, because there's lives at risk. Look, I believe the president should be given a lot of credit for what he did in his first term. Project Warp Speed, end of period, full stop, was extraordinary. It was something that the president should know is one of the most profound impacts he could have had on the American people in the world. And we are a haven right now for that innovation. The stuff that we're talking about in there today is going to stifle innovation. It's going to make other biotech firms wonder whether or not this is a safe place to make major investments in future cures. So we're playing with fire here, mainly driven by political opposition at either end of the spectrum. And I think that those folks, if the death rates go up for children who aren't vaccinated, they need to own it. Own it. Don't say, whoops, we got the science wrong. Own it. Because this is the sort of life and death decisions that we make as U.S. senators and that he has to make as a secretary in the president's cabinet. You got to go.
Thank you, Senator.